Greetings and welcome back to 50 Shades of Beige. Today we're having a look back at the true value king of days past, the GTX 1070. Let's get right into it. Now the card we're working with today is actually an EVGA superclocked GTX 1070. And this conversation was inspired by a chat I had on Low Castle Tech's live stream. A huge shout out to the community there for suggesting this blast from the past. I chat there every Saturday and Sunday night, so feel free to join in with us and share your thoughts. Links in the description.
You see an extremely professional, high-quality light stick, and you can only assume I'm a professional gamer.
Now, when the GTX 1070 first launched back in 2016, it really broke new ground with its balance of cost and performance. Sporting 8 gigs of GDDR5 memory and 1920 CUDA cores, it promised to deliver high-end gaming experience at an affordable price. Today, the GTX 1070 can be had for less than $100, but the question is, how does it perform in modern titles? Our battleground for today's test is a Core i9-12900K on a Gigabyte Z690 Aorus Elite AX motherboard with 32 gigs of G.Skill DDR5 6000, all powered by the Corsair AX1200i and cooled by the Thermalright Frozenote 360mm AIO. Now, before launching into the games themselves, we'll run 3D Mark Time Spy at 1080p. This will ensure our 8-year-old GTX 1070 still meets the mark, and will provide a clear baseline of what this GPU can handle. Keep in mind, Time Spy was released around the same year that the 1070 was produced, so I will expect it to push the 1070 pretty hard at 1080p. I'm using a new capture card, and unfortunately there's some screen tearing. Rest assured, the screen tearing isn't actually happening on the graphics card, it's happening on the capture card, and unfortunately there's not much I can do about it until I can afford a nicer one. And right off the bat here, it looks like we're hanging in around the 35 to 42 FPS range. Not a bad showing, but the performance is as expected so far. And we have similar results for graphics test number 2, once again, high 30s to around 45 FPS. And for the CPU test, of course, the 12900K absolutely obliterates it, ending at nearly 70 FPS. Let's have a look at the results. Survey says 70-10 is our overall score. I'm pretty sure that meets or exceeds the highest score for this configuration, though it looks like our score is still being validated. Better than 34% of results overall, not bad. Let's go ahead and get into the games. We're pitting the 2016 value champ against 4 of the more graphically intense games in my library: Cyberpunk 2077, Satisfactory, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Hogwarts Legacy, all at 1080p high settings or better. And first up, we'll have Cyberpunk 2077. As you can see here, we're at 1080p with everything set to high and the crowd density set to medium. Ray tracing, motion blur, and resolution scaling are off. This is far from a scientific benchmark, but we're averaging around 45 FPS driving around town. I'd say 1080p high should be playable in most situations. Let's give FSR a shot. Now with FSR 2.1 enabled in quality mode, we're hanging in right around that 60 FPS mark. Really not bad, about a 25% gain without any noticeable degradation in texture quality. I'd say if you're gonna play Cyberpunk 2077 on an older card, I highly recommend you at least turn FSR quality on. In Satisfactory, we'll see how the card manages more complex simulations and vast landscapes. Here we are on the menu with 1080p ultra settings once again. I did notice some pop-in here and there. That's to be expected, especially on a pre-release game with only 8 gigs of VRAM. And we're hanging around 50 FPS here. Really not too shabby. I tried FSR in this title, but it didn't really appear to make a difference despite restarting the game, so we'll just move on to the next one. And now we're off to the rugged terrains of Red Dead Redemption 2. This will give us an idea of how the card handles a more detailed world and advanced physics. And let's have a quick look at the menu. Once again, you can see here most of the options are set to high or ultra, and we're using the Vulkan API. Here we go with the in-game benchmark. And wowzer, the 1070 is really struggling here. We're barely staying above 25 FPS. This is not what I would consider playable. Let's see how it does in the next scene. And now that we have some more action here, it's clear the 1070 is struggling really hard. Let's get it some help quick. He's dead, Jim. Turn on FSR quality mode. And we're struggling once again here in this snow scene, but at least we're in a playable zone of around 45 FPS. In the desert section, we're so close to 60 FPS, but just not quite there. Let's see how we do in town now. And we have a nearly 100% increase in FPS at the cash register scene here, a much welcome improvement. It seems that ironically, AMD FSR has given our aging NVIDIA card a new lease on life. And lastly, we have Hogwarts Legacy. Let's see if the 1070 can render some magic here. I don't have a set benchmark for Hogwarts, so we're just going to run out into the courtyard and do some laps. This is once again far from scientific, but it should give us an idea of how the GPU will perform for most of the game. And we're landing around 42 to 48 FPS indoors and nearly 60 FPS outdoors. Certainly playable if not ideal. And we netted about a 10% gain by activating FSR 2.0 quality mode. So it appears our journey reveals the GTX 1070 with FSR's help still holds a flame in today's gaming landscape. It's really a testament to NVIDIA's engineering and a nod to eBay hardware enthusiasts everywhere. If you can get this card for less than $100, I say go for it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.